Good morning, YouTube. Today we're going to be installing the new Apex Enhancement trigger onto my Glock 17 Gen 3. Apex Tactical is out in Phoenix, Arizona. They are 100% manufactured in-house. What comes into the kit? Let's see in the baggie. We got a connector and we got a firing pin safety, along with the shoe and trigger bar. This changes your standard Glock trigger from a 5.5, 6 pound pull to a 4.5 pound pull. The trigger bar is coated in nickel Teflon, so low friction. Let's, I guess, get into the install. First, clear. Let's take it apart. Slide off. Slide will lead off to the side. Tools I'll be using: some lubricant, CLP, and some Allen keys. Small one take off the connector, and the bigger one to take off the pins off the frame. So we'll start with the trigger housing pin. Take that out. Leave it aside. The locking block pin up here. That aside. Your trigger pin. Aside. Take your locking block off. Your slide release lever. And then we're going to pull on the extractor, and it'll take your trigger housing assembly off. Next, we're going to take our trigger bar, and then we're going to rotate it counterclockwise a little bit, take it out of that groove, and then lift up. And your trigger spring is right there. Detach it from the trigger spring. Leave the old assembly behind. That leaves you with your trigger spring and your connector. We're going to take that small Allen key, push in on the other side of the connector. It'll push out. Come out. We'll take the new connector. Move this aside. Put the connector in with the grooves. Alright. Take your new trigger bar and trigger shoe. Trigger spring likes to come out. Put this in like that. Put some tension on it. Seat it down. Rotate it counterclockwise. And then we will take some CLP. This is the most important part. And we'll put it in between the connector and trigger bar. And we'll put everything back together. Easy install. So it should be seated like this. Back in. Slide in. Alright, I'll put my trigger assembly pin back in first. My locking block second. My locking block pin will go in first. We'll always go in first before your trigger pin. Your magazine slide release. Put that in this portion. The spring needs to be underneath the locking block pin. Put that in till the group match. Our trigger pin will go in from the other side. Give that a shimmy. There we go. You just installed your new trigger. All right, last final part is installing the firing pin safety onto the slide. We're going to be taking the recoil spring out, the barrel, and then you'll see this little black portion right here. That is the spacer sleeve. We're going to depress and push down on it a little bit while sliding the slide cover plate. And be careful because you have the extractor depressor plunger assembly in here wanting to come out, so I'll just cover the whole side and then take that back plate out, and then we'll back out the firing pin assembly just a hair bit. Same with the extractor depressor plunger assembly, and then I'll push down on the firing pin safety and then take the extractor out like that. And be careful because the firing pin safety does have a firing pin safety spring underneath it, so I'll just rotate it down, take that outward, and then you can see that right there. Take the spring off, and as you can see, the difference between the Apex firing pin safety and the standard OEM Glock, there is a ridge right here and not as polished, versus this is all polished and a lot more smooth rounded to ensure a smoother trigger action. So we'll reverse step, put the firing spring safety pin in there, firing safety pin spring back where it come from. I want to be careful with this part because you want that spring not to be seated other than vertical. So put that in there, then we'll get our extractor, press down, it'll lock into place, and then push down your fire assembly pin, and then we'll put that back plate on. Be careful putting it all back together because the tension, things like to pop out, so I'll push down on the firing pin assembly, and then I'll push down on the extractor depressor plunger, but be careful. And then should be fully seated and click. Now in order to test this, your firing pin shouldn't be coming out of it until you depress down on the firing pin safety, and now you see your firing pin go up and down. Pull back, it's depressed, and now you can't press it down. And now you can see that little firing pin come out up and down. Put your barrel back together, and your recoil spring. And now for a functions check. Take the slide back. All safety works. As you can see, obviously nothing's loaded, but the give is very good. I can feel that very smooth press. Oh, that's a nice reset. Everything just feels a lot more smoother than the Glock trigger itself. Alright, well, that's was the install of the Apex trigger. Hope you guys enjoyed the video.